They might be the best team in the. I don't know. It's not the Lions anymore, right?
I think Philadelphia deserves the respect, but it's just never forget when Philadelphia was rolling over people, the Rams went into a snowstorm and had the ball at the 15-yard line, and if they didn't have a 6-round center against Jalen Carter and had protection, they probably win the game and go to the NFC Championship where they would be favored over Jaden Daniels. I mean, that's and by the way, if the Rams got to the Super Bowl, the Chiefs' left tackle situation with Jared Verse matched up very well with the Chiefs, who were down tackles.
Yeah. Final.
Can't you see, guys? This is why we can't have nice things. I'm doing a clip on the Los Angeles Rams, and I hear that little sound bite, and I'm just like, oh my God. What are we doing here? Why are these all the random little takes from the Eagles throughout this offseason like this? I've already done a couple of these videos before, Brew saying, oh, it was the O-line, why the Chiefs lost. If they had a better O-line, they win the Super Bowl, all of these random little takes. And then you have people like J-Mac be like, oh, it sounds like, it's the Lions or the Rams are the best team in the NFC right now. And it's just like, we're not going to talk about the Eagles. And then even when Colin's like, oh, yeah, you got to give the Eagles some respect. He's like, but just remember, if things were different for the Rams, they win that game. And it's like, yeah. If I fart rainbows, I'll be able to find a pot of gold in the bathroom. Like what are we saying here right now? Like this is just kind of absurd. Like, guys, I just love how it's like, oh, if things were slightly different for the Rams, they beat the Eagles, and then they're going to beat the Commanders, and then they're going to beat the Chiefs. And it's like, well, okay. I mean, like, we can do this. We can kind of do this all day. I mean, theoretically, the Buccaneers actually were going to win the Super Bowl. Baker Mayfield doesn't fumble that ball against the Commanders, then he's going to go face the Eagles, I believe, and then they're going to beat the Eagles because they beat the Eagles when the Eagles were missing, defensive players, starting defensive players, multiple starting linemen, we're missing A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and, I guess they would, so that means they would have won because they beat them so well in like week 4 or 5, so then they were going to beat the Eagles, and then they would have, beat, I guess, again, now it's going to maybe be the Rams or the Lions in the NFC Championship game, and then there you go, Buccaneers win the Super Bowl, baby. There you go. So it's just like, what again, like, we're getting lost in this. We're getting, like, now we're saying that Jalen Carter can only eat and feast on, like, bad linemen. Like, what are we saying here? What are we saying here? And the snowstorm hurts the Eagles. When you're a better team, which the Eagles were clearly the better team, the weather has a neutralizing impact, a neutralizing factor. Okay? And if your offense is really pass friendly, pass happy, the slippery conditions in the snow helps you. Tom Brady has talked about this. I've talked about this so much, especially going into this game. Because the defense has to react. They're reacting. So you're more likely to slip and fall and just be a step slower. And we literally saw in that game how much room Cooper DeJean, Darius Slay, etc. They pointed it out on the broadcast. How much extra space they had to give the receivers. So we could also, if we want to play this game, let's just say, well, if the weather was neutral, the Eagles would have dominated and rolled the Rams like they did the Commanders, the Kansas City Chiefs. So if we're going to say one if, we got to do a bunch of other ifs. What if Jalen Hurts didn't hurt his knee? Because he hurt his knee and was less mobile now. Oh, if Jalen Hurts doesn't get a little bit banged up, he would have been more mobile. He would have converted a couple more first downs, and then it wouldn't have come down to that final play. Yeah, okay, that makes sense too. I mean, what about the other punch-out fumble that Jalen Carter had? Like, was that against a backup center or something? Like, I just, not even a backup center, a 6th-round center. I don't know. Like, Does like every team need to just be like have like a stacked roster or something, or like, you know, like everyone just needs to have like a first round center, you know, a top 10 center, 2 top 10 wide receivers, a top 10 running back, top 10 quarterback. Like I don't understand. I really don't. I really don't. I just don't get it. And did anyone say that for the 49ers against the Kansas City Chiefs? Oh, you know, they just had a better, you know, insert any player you want. Any player. Just a better center. Let's just say center. Oh, they had a slightly better center. You know, Brock Purdy would have been pressured a couple less times, and they probably win that Super Bowl. Does anyone say that? Oh, Chris Jones was able to take advantage of a porous O-line or something. Like, does anyone say that? Nobody says that. Nobody says that. Nobody post that Super Bowl even continued to the trickle down. No one talked about the Greenlaw injury. No one talked about the muffed punt. Nobody talked about that. Nobody. I talked about that because I have open and honest conversations about everything. I actually look at all these things from 360 degrees. And when a game is that close, you can kind of start to have these conversations here. Especially when the Chiefs kept winning close game, whereas the Eagles did not. The Eagles convincingly won against the Packers, the Commanders, and the Chiefs. They did not against the Rams. And tell me, what was the difference about that game compared to all the other games? Oh, was it the blizzard? Was it the snowstorm? Oh, was it? Yeah, I think it was. Was it the fact that Jalen Hurts was also on some stuff? If you see his post game, you know he got injected. You know, I don't even know, but it was, you know, he was feeling a little good. He was feeling good. Like, you don't think that stuff influences things? Because they do. So I'm okay talking about that Rams game, you know, and saying like, yeah, the Eagles could have lost that game. They could have. Like, I've talked about that. I've talked about how close these things are, where the Rams get a touchdown there, kick the field goal, win the game, and the Eagles don't win a Super Bowl. Like, that's how crazy. Same thing with the Commanders. Everybody was talking so much about Jaden Daniels and how amazing it is. Oh my God, he easily could have lost against the Buccaneers. The field goal kicker almost missed that field goal. Almost missed that field goal. It clung. You know, it was a big doom. Easily could have missed that field goal. And then everything changes. He loses his first playoff game. He doesn't beat the Buccaneers. He doesn't then beat the Lions. He's not then in the NFC Championship game. So there are a ton of things out of people's control. And there absolutely is a world where the Philadelphia Eagles do not win that Super Bowl. And I'm comfortable and okay talking about that. But to say that this is why they won, or why the Rams, like given this this conviction, this is the analysis, that takes away all the other great things that the Philadelphia Eagles did throughout that game. And again, when we also set this table where we're like, in a blizzard, this is how close the game was. Yeah, like that hurts the Philadelphia Eagles. Like that, you know, it's harder to win straight up in that regard because there's different conditions out there. Like under more controlled conditions, the Rams had no chance to beat the Eagles when they played during the regular season. You know? So we can't just say like in a blizzard, like that somehow made it harder for the Rams, because it didn't. It made it easier for the Rams. They have a more pass-friendly offense. The Eagles' defense is actually more based on the secondary, on Cooper DeJean, Mitchell, etc., etc. So like they're not all about the pass rush necessarily for the Eagles. Obviously, it's not a bad thing for them either, but it's like that wasn't like how their defense was really built, like it was in 22, which is why the slippery field hurt the Eagles so much, because it was so much based on that pass rush and getting to the quarterback, and they couldn't. Which that's a different conversation. So, oh man. And I know it's just a throwaway line, but I don't know, man. When the Rams won the Super Bowl, it was endless praise, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. But, like, did people say, the O-line cost Joe Burrow the Super Bowl and the Bengals? You know, if they had just and if instead of them having a 5th-round left tackle, you know, and they had, you know, Joe Johnson, the Bengals win that Super Bowl. And now Stafford and the Rams and McVay are still chasing on, you know, they're ringless. Like, no one says that. Nobody says that. Nobody. So, just weird. It really is. So yeah. I don't know why we keep going there, honestly. I really don't. It doesn't really make sense to me. And it is funny to kind of reflect back on what those conversations were. And then even after that game, Jalen Hurts was banged up. And then that's when everyone was like, Jalen Hurts, he's not going to be mobile. He's not going to be good. His knee's messed up. When you take away his mobility, his game is going to really get hurt against the Commanders. That's why you had like people like Nick Wright being like, I don't know, etc., etc. And then he balls out, plays great. The Eagles win. And nobody talks about that. No one talks about his knee. No one talks about anything. He was wearing a brace like right up until the start of the game. And yet to this day, we still hear about Patrick Mahomes playing on like a rolled ankle. You know, to this day, it's like the flu game for him. You know, you still have Kansas City Chiefs fans and obviously Nick Wright be like, he's better than most quarterbacks on one leg. And yet, that was never anything part of Jalen Hurts' conversation about those games, about him overcoming an injury, which is hilarious too, because I talked about this on my basketball channel, JWL Hoops. And, you know, you have someone like Steph Curry who's playing. He's got like a messed up tailbone, wearing a brace. His thumb is like literally like in a cast. And he's in the last couple of games that he's played, he's balled out, shot just unbelievably from 3, just insane moments, just iconic, next level moments. Like he's still making like crazy, you know, highlights that people will remember forever. And like there's no talk about his injuries at all. And then Ja Morant rolls an ankle, and you look on ESPN and it's like, Ja Morant braves through an ankle injury, painful injury is overcome by Ja. And you're just like, when do we pick and choose when we want to when do we pick and choose how we want to construct these narratives? Sometimes it's a player overcoming adversity, overcoming injuries. Other times it's like, it doesn't matter. Let's not even talk about it. Sometimes it's, the O-line cost a game for the Rams. So I guess the O-line cost the Super Bowl for the Rams and the Kansas City Chiefs. Wow. That's pretty crazy. The Eagles actually were going to win the Super Bowl in 2023, but it was the coordinators. If they had 2 different coordinators, they win the Super Bowl. Chiefs, they're pretenders in 23. They're not actually really deserving of the Super Bowl. Just the way it is, man. I don't make the rules. I just try my best to follow them. And, you know, the Buccaneers actually lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Tom Brady actually did not win another ring. It was that O-line. Just the way it goes. Just the way it goes. Did people say that in the 22 Super Bowl? If it wasn't for that really awful call to end the game that then gave the Chiefs a walk-off field goal? Did anyone really talk about that, or did they try to be like, well, it technically was a penalty? Even though anyone with any type of football knowledge knows that that's not the call you make. Like Greg Olsen, audibly angry at a call like that as an offensive player himself. Clearly not like an Eagles homer or something like that, or a Chiefs hater. Hearing Tom Brady in the Super Bowl against the Eagles saying, you got to let these guys play when that one offensive pass interference call. It's funny how like big offensive players are even kind of like, it's weird. I always love to figure out how we pick and choose when we want to talk about certain things and the narratives that we want to construct. I will always find that entertaining. And again, this is nothing directed towards Colin, because this is like this is the general conversation that we see. Like that whole rant was not directed towards Colin at all, because this is like the conversations that I see and hear trickling out through all the shows, through all the channels, through all the media, through all some, random fans. Like, again, like even J-Mac being like, oh, what about the Lions and the Rams? They got to be the top 2 teams. And it's like, you're not even going to mention the Philadelphia Eagles? Like, what? And I'm not the type of person that says all the Philadelphia Eagles are the top, they're automatically the top team because they won the Super Bowl. I'm the opposite of that. Like, I'm not when this season starts in September, like, I'm not going to be like, well, of course the Eagles are the number 1 team. Or if they're like 2-2, 2-1, I'm not going to, but they haven't been playing well, I'm not going to automatically be like, well, you can't doubt the reigning Super Bowl champs. Like, it's not the way how I operate. I am definitely year to year. But if we're just going to make up stuff in the offseason, because it is all completely made up, if we're just picking the Lions and the Rams right now, well then, like, if we're going to make stuff up, well then at least add the Eagles into this, like, made up fantasy right now of making Super Bowl predictions on April 22nd. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles? Man, they just got so lucky. They got so lucky against the Kansas City Chiefs, the Los Angeles Rams. If it wasn't for the fumbles against the Commanders, they don't win that game either. And if it wasn't for the interceptions against the Packers, they don't win that game. They actually lost every single game in the playoffs. It's actually kind of crazy when you think about it. They lost every single game in the playoffs. And they won the Super Bowl. It is that, I don't know if that's ever been done before. That's never been done before. The Eagles made history and we didn't even know it. The Eagles lost every single playoff game, but they won the Super Bowl. And Jalen Hurts isn't a good quarterback, and he won the Super Bowl MVP. This is the first time in NFL history. I got the chills actually right now that I'm saying this out loud. I legitimately just got the chills. We witnessed history and we all didn't even know it. Wow. Wow. I look forward in a couple months. We're going to see those like late night videos where they're like, buy a DVD to commemorate the historic Philadelphia Eagles season. They're the first team in NFL history to lose every game of the season and lose every playoff game and have an awful quarterback who can't throw win a Super Bowl. And you're going to be able to buy a t-shirt, a DVD, like a gold coin with like an eagle and Jalen Hurts on the back. Oh man, I can't wait. I'm going to get that ASAP. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles just being the worst team in the history of the NFL to win a Super Bowl? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.